3, 2, 1.
Yo, what's good, everybody? We are so glad that you decided to tune in with us once again on your taking time out of your Friday evening to rock with Carlene plus Jamie. And I'm so happy to be here with my beautiful co-host, my life partner, the parent of my daughters, the carrier of my daughters for 9 months, and the most beautiful gift that God has given to me was brought through you. So I thank God for you and for all of you that are watching. Carlene, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It was a pretty good week. I think my week was as good as it was because I made a choice every single day to be intentional about trusting God in spaces where it feels as though there is no other way. And so that intentionality, I think, made my week great. How easy it is for us to kind of like fall into the trap of, looking at our situations and just kind of feeling discouraged and just kind of leaning into all those negative feelings. So easily I do that. And so this week I decided to lean into God and lean into what He has promised. I know that this past weekend, listening to Pastor Wesley Knight's sermon on Don't Count on It, and then listening to Alfred Street. Don't count. Don't count. And then Alfred Street Baptist, also John. What's his name?
Howard John Wesley. Or Howard Wesley John. Something like that.
My bad for messing
I know, right?
His name. But those two sermons for sure were very, helpful as it carried me throughout the week. So yeah, pretty great week. What about you?
That's what's up for sure. Yeah, the sermons that I heard, had the privilege to go with my brother, Myron Edmonds, over to New Birth to hear Dr. Jamal Bryant speak. So it's like all the sermons. I think this is what really stood out to me this week is that God has a way of speaking through people specifically for your situation. It's almost as if they were just had a microscope on my life, on our life, and wrote a sermon specifically for us. So it's just wonderful to know that the messages that I got this week helped encourage me throughout the week. And, just to divert just a little bit, the Target fast is on. We saw Target the other day released a statement saying that their sales are down and they're trying to blame it on the weather, on the winter or whatever. But we know that there is a movement happening and y'all could avoid it or talk about it's not having an effect. But it is. And I drove through the Target parking lot today. It did look a little bit empty. I did see some of our kin going in, and so I am inclined to either think that they're not down with the fast or maybe they needed something. That's why they were there. But I'm just thankful that the folks I know have been standing in solidarity with it. And and that's what's up. And even with all that's going on in our society and the news with Donald Trump, and I'm just sitting back and just seeing how God is moving. Yeah. And I know that I know I always go off on tangents, but I have one more nugget that I want to share with the listeners as we're talking about justice and we're talking about movements and solidarity and we're battling against misinformation. Did you know that Mexico, the entire country of Mexico, only has one gun shop?
Oh, wow.
The whole country, only one gun shop. 95% of the deaths from the cartels and from people dying and innocent civilians are from guns that have been smuggled in from the US
Wow.
to Mexico.
Say it ain't so.
Yeah. And so I think that I just brought that up to just show that, narratives are spit out, they go into people's minds, and we don't get all of the information because all we keep hearing is about the fentanyl that's coming in, the drugs that's coming in. But it's almost like an exchange program. It's like drugs for guns.
Yeah.
And no one is talking about, at least I don't hear it on our local news, to say we need to help Mexico with the stopping of the flow of guns into their country so that their people can live. And maybe they don't, maybe some of them are not trying to leave the country to come here for safety, right? So it's both sides of the coin. So, that was just a little tidbit I wanted to throw out there before we get into the nuts and bolts of our show today. And I'm so glad that we are picking up on part 2 of our conversation in regards. The title is I Left Pastoral Ministry, but did she leave too? And if you watched part 1 of the conversation with Carlene and I, that was a episode of revelation. And I think the biggest revelation for me was when you said you left before I did. I didn't know that. And, it goes to this article that I read this week, right? And how much of, I didn't realize, and even though I tried very hard not to do this, that no matter, I don't even know if no matter what, but it seems like you were always in the shadow of my ministry. And the fact that you left before I did should not have been a revelation to me. I think I should have known that, or I should have perceived that. And I think that's a demerit on me for not having open communication. But
I think that, and just pausing right there, I think you knew. I think inside of you knew that something had changed. There was something that shifted in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
When that, from your sickness to pandemic, you saw that there was a shift.
Yeah, there was a shift.
But it wasn't, I guess it wasn't it wasn't as clear or verbally
clear.
Said, yo.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I would say I knew that there was a shift, but I didn't know that it shifted as much as was expressed.
Got it.
I knew that it was waning and things were different, but I still felt that, I think I perceived that it looked as if you were still gung-ho, ride or die. You were 10 toes down. I
was.
Yeah, you were. Right. That's right. You were showing that, but I didn't know mentally you were I'm doing this. And so to the point of the shadow, that you live in my shadow, the pastor's ministry shadow, I found this website and it talked about 10 things that a pastor's wife goes through that many people don't know. And you can validate or confirm whichever one, right? So number 1, she is often running on empty. And that's from doing so much, supporting the family, supporting me.
I think that's just women in general.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like we're all running on empty.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Number 2, she has a few, if any, meaningful relationships.
Facts.
Number 3, she feels like she's part of a package deal.
Correct.
And that, for those that don't know what that means that if I get assigned to a church, people automatically expect you to join a ministry, to lead something, to do something. And it's almost like taboo if you just come into a church and just say, I'm going to just sit.
Not only that, I think it speaks a little bit deeper in terms of the package, in that that I'm not my own person, right? Like the package is wrapped nicely, but there's no ever a time or a chance to really be yourself.
Yeah.
It's really hard to be yourself. So it's almost like they see you, they see me in that, and they just assume that I'm a certain way, or they just kind of assume different things. But I think the package deal, just for me, it means as though I don't have an identity, or my identity is no longer mine per se. It's now oh, you're the pastor's wife. I don't have a name.
Yeah.
I don't have a personality. I don't want to say a personality. I don't have an identity. My identity is you're a pastor's wife. Do you sing? Do you play the piano?
Right. So that's
So
that's good. So let me get to number 4.
Mm-hmm.
She feels the scrutiny on her parenting skills. That people are watching how you raise your kids, how your kids are acting, if your kids are running around or your kids are being normal. You know, they're not, why is the pastor's kids doing that, right? And these are just
general.
Right. This is not saying it pertains to you.
Yeah.
But you brought up, you actually went to number 5. Her identity is tied up to who she's married to.
Correct.
So in the article that I was reading, it said oftentimes, and she did, and I think, I don't even know if it's a she, but I believe a woman wrote it, but she did something that was so cool. Throughout the whole article, she's writing the pastor's wife. And then in number 5, she says, it's interesting that you read this whole article and you didn't have a problem with me writing the pastor's wife. And she said that we never say the chef's wife. We never say the doctor's wife. Your name becomes the pastor's wife. You don't have a name. Yeah, so you refer to it. So that's
and what's interesting, just I don't want to keep. I want you to get through the list and for us to get to the rest of the stuff. But even with the name piece, you know, like people be like, and so are you Sister Pastor? Bruh.
Sister Pastor.
Bruh.
Sister Pastor.
The way that I used to feel.
Detest Sister.
When people would say that. And it would just be like, you know, what's your name? Carlene.
Right.
Sister. No, my name is Carlene. That's what my mother gave me at birth. My name, Carlene.
It is so lazy.
It's like
it's so lazy and rude to just assume you like to be called Sister Pastor.
Sister Pastor.
That's right. Ain't nobody calling you Crooked Wig. What up?
Jamie, not Crooked Wig. Please read to the end.
Okay. All right. Number 6, she barely gets acknowledged or appreciated. Number 7, struggle with finances because oftentimes the pastor is not paid a meaningful wage. So she has to juggle that. Number 8, career is at the mercy of her husband's assignment. Number 9, saying goodbye never gets ezy. And last but not least, dealing with an abusive husband.
Mercy.
And that was something was eye-opening to me, but it makes sense because a lot of pastors, and it's not just abusive physically, they can be verbal, it can be emotional, it can be infidelity that gets covered up because you're the pastor's wife, and that's not going to look good if anything is said. So, yeah, so I brought those up just to mention, just so that we could talk about the difficulties or the challenges that come with being a pastor's wife. And I think last week in our conversation, you hit on a lot of things, right? You hit on just talking about how you left before I did. You talked about the whole like the identity part and just, you know, not living up to what people's expectations are. And there was a whole bunch of, I know I'm forgetting a lot of things. I'm not mentioning a lot of other things.
Yeah, that's okay.
And I think it's good so that you could go back and watch the first episodes of this and watch all the other episodes as well. Yeah. So, but we could if you're ready, we could dive right into it.
Born ready.
All right. Look at me.
Squad ready.
Look at me, man. I'm trying to be like a professional journalist.
All right.
I'm getting my Oprah on right now. I got my little cards here.
Okay.
And we'll just jump right into the first question.
About this,
I'm very, very excited, as you can see. Very excited. Very excited. So, my first question to you.
Okay.
How have you personally processed this transition in your family's life?
How have I personally processed this transition? I think I have really, I don't know if I quite have had the time or the space
Mm-hmm.
to be able to truly transition or think about the transition, because I think we were in transition with moving,
Yeah.
right? So it came as, and even though I was processing leaving,
Mm-hmm.
I was processing what it meant, like what it looked like, not meant, but what it looked like for you to potentially leave and all those
Mm-hmm.
things. I think for me personally, I think I've just been going through an evolution of sorts and really trying to be the best version of myself. And
Mm-hmm.
so that would mean, really connecting with God on a deeper level. That would be me doing things that truly brings me joy, not things that I'm supposed to do because someone feels like I'm supposed to do this or something, I'm supposed to do that. Just truly connecting, reconnecting with myself in a deep, meaningful way, and being patient with the process and being patient with the journey,
Mm-hmm.
and not it being like a flick of a switch where it's like, oh, all of a sudden, you know, everything is kind of transitioning in this or that way. But I just truly am reconnecting myself back to myself.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. And it happened fast, right? Like
Hmm.
my official resignation was January 15th. We were in a car driving 12 hours on December,
I don't know.
yeah, whatever December, and then the whole process and everything. But yeah, I still think that there's probably still time for it to settle in. Like it's still very new.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think it's just a new space of becoming. I think
Yeah.
it's just a new space. We're always evolving. We're always becoming. So
Yeah.
I just think it's just a new thing. Like when we got married and knowing that you had your first assignment, like that transition, it takes a
Right.
while to kind of go through the motions of all of it. And so I think I'm just kind of going through the motions, but I'm really being intentional about doing things and being with people that truly bring me joy.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So now that you said that, so I want to know this. I want to ask you this question. Do you feel like your own role or your identity within the church community has changed within this transition? So now that it's been a few weeks, we've been to church a few times. You've been to church without me. You've been to church with me. Now that I'm not the person behind the pulpit or a guest speaker,
Hmm.
do you feel like your identity or your role in the church has changed um, in any way? The way people treat you or the way you show up or how you see yourself?
Not yet. I think because we're still new to the space and people are very much people know that this is what the role that you were functioning in
Mm-hmm.
for a very long time. So I still think that people, of course, still see you as pastor. They still see me as a pastor's wife. I think right now is just trying to trying to I don't know, trying to adjust to the new norm.
Yeah.
It's almost like you were working at McDonald's flipping burgers, right? And now you are managing a whole team. It takes a while for you to be like, oh, let me go flip. Oh, no, I'm not flipping burgers. I'm
Yeah.
actually the one that's kind of helping or managing the team. So I think it's just one of those things of just like really trying to embrace the journey in a graceful way, um, and just being okay with sometimes it feeling weird or awkward of we're walking to a space and people are like, hey, and such, and but it's like we're not the pastoral
Right.
family. So
Right.
it's like, okay, please let me go sit somewhere in the back, not because um not because I'm trying to defer my feelings or my emotions, but it's more or less like I just really want to chill. I just really want to embrace
Yeah.
this new norm
Mm-hmm.
that we're experiencing right
Yeah,
now.
this new reality because and I think maybe I think part of the problem is because we're at a church where we're somewhat known.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm sure that if we go to a church where we're not known, it's gonna be a whole lot different.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna really be like, and I think that's like something we haven't experienced yet. To
Mm-mm.
walk into a church building and nobody have no clue who we
Right.
are, right? So I think that will hit different. But yeah, I get it. So are you saying that now? Okay, so let me ask this piggyback question off of that. Prior to that, when I'm the preacher, when I'm the pastor, or wherever we go, there's like almost like a special treatment,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now that I'm no longer in that role, do you miss that special treatment, or are you like at the place where you're like you're longing and desiring just to be another member?
Yes.
So it's the
That
latter.
the latter.
Okay.
Yes. I don't miss it. It's not like I'm just like, please let me find a seat, or please see me, or please treat me this way. No, no, not even a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's just, it's a funky space to be in for sure. But I'm embracing it. I
Yeah.
am embracing the ebbs and the flow of it all, because I know that we're still new. It's still
Right.
new. And so I'm just looking forward to what it'll look like a year from now, what it'll look like 2 years from now,
Yeah.
right? Um, and so I'm really excited to see what that is going to look like. Of course, sometimes I know for me, attending church weekly was something that I did not do.
Hmm.
And so now that we're attending a little bit
Well,
more,
well, that's pandemic. Before pandemic,
well, before
yeah,
pandemic. And so honestly, I don't really remember anything
I know the
before pandemic.
pandemic messed everything up.
It just messed me up. And
Right.
so my new norm was I'll go to church every now and again, probably twice a month. I'll probably show up for different reasons. And so going to church every week for the most part is new to me.
Yeah.
My motivation, honestly, are the girls. Just creating a normal see for them where church and creating community in church is something that we really want for them.
Yeah.
And so they're the ones that are kind of motivating me to show up every week. Um, so I just think that for me, I just want to embrace this new norm, this new
Yeah.
reality, and just kind of just let it flow the way that it's supposed to,
Yeah.
with hopes that you know.
Do you think that it'll wear off? Do you think maybe like at some point it'll wear? Because I know you been married for a long time, and I know that when you see certain things, you sometimes in your brain you're like, I want to help. I want to do something. I
Yeah.
want to get like you'll
Yes.
sit there because you're this, and this is how we differ. I can sit
Mhm.
there and watch something and just be like, nope, I ain't touching it.
Mhm.
You can sit there and you're like, I want to, I want to, I want to, I need. So do you think it'll wear off, or do you think eventually you can see yourself reverting back to the Carlene that was in church, that was, the evolution of Carlene prior to before pandemic, that was doing this ministry, that ministry, the Carlene before we got married, the Carlene that I met, that was
Mhm.
really, really active in being a part of doing stuff.
Mhm.
Do you think that you'll ever go back to that? Because it's going to be different. Well, it's going to be going back to you as doing that as not as the pastor's wife.
Yeah, but I think yes, I definitely see myself being active,
Mm-hmm.
because again, it is a part of it's a part of who I am. I've always been super actively involved in my church. And so, this is something that we've talked about often where, you know, my inactivity at church came by way of you being a pastor.
Mm.
Um, but at my core, I enjoy being very involved in church.
Mm-hmm.
I can do 50 million things in one. Um, it's just something about, you know, being an active member, being an active participant that brings not only community, but it just brings a sense of belonging. And I'm putting my hands to the plow and I'm helping to make the community, you know, better, stronger.
Yeah.
I'm not a sit back kind of. I've been doing it for a very long time, but I'm not at my core. I'm not a sit back, fold my hands, and just let things ride or just let things, go, whatever. I do enjoy participating. Now, I do, over the years, I've now, I do know that I want to create those boundaries where I'm not doing 50 million things, because sometimes that stuff will take you out, and I'm not trying to live that life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm really trying to do whatever brings me joy.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. And as I think that is a golden rule that we should all abide by, right? Like, do what brings you joy, do what brings you happiness. And as a pastor's wife, or a matter of fact, as a spouse of anybody who's in leadership, that oftentimes we we put aside our happiness for the sake of others. And that's not necessarily fair, not
Correct.
all the time, right? And I think that seeking out your happiness is important. Um, so I want to ask you this question. And have you discovered like new aspects of your relationship with me um as my professional identity shifts? So is there things that you're discovering about me? Are there things that you're seeing that are different about me now that I'm not getting ready to go up on a pulpit on a Saturday morning? Is there any dynamic shifts within our relationship?
Mm, it's still early. So for sure, this one.
Uh-oh. I don't know about this one. What is this one?
So I think I've gotten a whole lot better now. But before, I was always late or making Jamie late.
Yo.
We would be late most of the time. And of course, as we talked about last week, like, this is his job. Like, he's working on a Sabbath, right? And so I would be the one that would be the reason why we would be late for majority of the mornings. And so I think this time there is no pressure. There
That is
is no
true.
like, Carlene,
We
we
gotta
gotta go.
go.
And this is what Jamie will do. Jamie would he'll at the beginning he'll be like, man, we gotta go, we gotta go.
Yeah.
And he will then go from we gotta go to complete silence. And I'd be like, okay, he's not rushing me anymore. That means I could chill. No. If he is silent, that means he has almost he's at a point where he's boiling, and he's just like, you know what? It don't make sense for me to be mad, or it makes sense for me to be pushing her, telling her we gotta go, because it doesn't make sense. So he has resolved that he's late, and he's just going, in his brain he's already like
Yeah.
made up, like in his brain he's already worked out, okay, when I get there I gotta be doing this, or
Right.
he's making calls or text messages or whatever. And so I think in this season you are not doing that.
How much more pleasant?
Very pleasant.
But you had to I'm laughing because yo, that joint was real. Cause I used to be like, you are never late for your job.
Nope.
And I just feel like you did not take my job seriously because of all the
Because
things. But you
it's
explained to
the
me,
Sabbath.
it's the Sabbath. But no, but you also explained to me this. You explained to me that you have to get the girls ready.
Yes.
You have to get the girls' hair ready. You have to get them ready. Then you have to get yourself ready. And then sometimes you're even making breakfast for them.
Not
So it's all
sometimes.
those things, right?
All the time. All the time.
So I had to fall back. I was like, you know what? Yeah, let me fall back because I don't know how to comb hair. I don't know how to do all that other stuff. So I was like, all right, let me fall back and appreciate what you do instead of getting mad at you.
Yes.
Or like, because when we're late, I would like drive slow. Intentionally because I'm like, I ain't rushing. What I'm rushing for?
And I'll be like, I thought he had to go. This brother is driving super slow. And what's interesting is not until I had that conversation, because I felt like I needed to be superwoman. I felt
Yeah.
like I needed to you are preparing for the word of the Lord,
Yeah.
to deliver the word. You've been burning that midnight oil. And so I was trying to be not accommodating, but conscientious of your brain, where it might be, and all those things. And so that's why I would do all those things. And I would literally leave me for last.
Yeah. Right.
And so I'm like, okay, everybody's ready. Okay, everybody's sitting pretty. Now I can get ready. And of course, it takes me a while to get ready in general. So
Yes. So I mean we're diverting a little bit.
Here we
but
are.
But Carlene cannot take out her clothes the night before.
Mm-mm.
So I used to be like, you know what? Why don't you just take out what you're gonna wear to church the night before, so you don't have to? Because a lot of time used to be spent in you trying to figure out what you're gonna wear, and you would not do it. You can't do that.
Mm-mm.
Even for anything, you cannot take out your clothes the night before. So I used to be like, you know what? At the end of the day, it is what it is, and I'm gonna get there in time just to preach. So
Yeah.
So I am
So
more
I'm
relaxed.
looking forward.
I
I
am
like
more
that.
relaxed now. I am much more relaxed.
Yeah. I also like not like but Friday nights are different too, where it's a
Yeah.
lot more relaxed. Because Friday nights used to be where you would be in the office, or you'll be basically writing sermons. I used to be doing my hair too. Remember, I used
Oh
to
yeah,
do
that's
my
right.
hair,
That's
and
right.
then you would turn on a very awful movie, and then I
Oh,
would end up watching it.
yo.
But no, we're not going there though. Please don't let's
All
go
right,
there. Please don't let's go
we're gonna
there.
do an episode about my love for Tubi
Yeah,
movies.
we're good. Not
Love-
now.
I love me some Tubi movies. All right, so we're getting ready to wrap up. I'm getting through
Okay.
my questions.
Okay.
And you have
Okay,
been
questions.
answering them absolutely amazingly.
Thanks.
And but this one I want to know, how has this change affected your own spiritual journey, which I don't think you need to talk about, because last week you said like you feel like you have a closer walk with God.
Mhm.
But how has it affected your relationship with the church?
What do you mean? If
So
you can
like
give me a little bit more.
so last week you talked about me getting sick and how you had already left. And now that you're not in the position that you were in before, and it doesn't even have to change, it can still be the same, whatever. But do you see the church differently? Do you see ministry differently? Do you, um, anything like, and just I'll leave it right there. Do you see anything differently now that you're on this side about ministry, looking back at it? Any regrets, any feelings, happiness, joy, sadness, anything like that?
My perspective about the church for sure has changed. Um, Prior to walking into ministry with you, I was super conservative, and we've kind of talked about that a little bit on our show before. But I was very conservative, where everything was righteousness by works, where I felt like if I did this, if I did that, that it would definitely be a sure way of me being able to go to heaven. And so, of course, being married to you, you're not the average pastor that is, I would say, you're not conservative, you're not traditional. You definitely um, step on those boundary lines, right? Where you're thinking and stuff like that. So of course, being married to you, and us having conversations about spirituality and the church and things of that nature has really allowed me to think more for myself, opposed to having other people or what I've been taught be what it is that I hold to. And so of course, I mentioned last week last week's show, like I was very much I felt a certain way after during the pandemic about church, and just how the church's response as a whole to what was happening in our community, our Black community, I just thought about, I think I had a lot more time to think about why I do what I do, and realizing that most of the things that I was holding on to weren't necessarily salvific at all. There were more or less what I felt like was conditioning me to act a certain way, to be a certain way, to dress a certain way, to speak a certain way, to approach evangelism in a certain way. And so with the pandemic and all that stuff, it literally has shifted my mind about church. Church is a place, what I remember church to be is not. It doesn't really exist,
Yeah. Yeah, that's
unfortunately.
true.
And so trying to create or recreate something that is more for our girls than for me, because I've been churched all my life. And so I've, again, have been going through a deconstruction process that I'm still going through
Yeah.
in terms of how I see the church, and how my faith, how to attach my faith to an organization. And so I don't want to go too much, because I'm sure that this will definitely be something that we can talk about in other episodes. But I think what I can say is I no longer see the church the same way I did
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
And right now, I think I'm just relearning. I'm relearning the pillars of my faith, and where I'm more depending on my relationship with God to guide me than anything else
Yeah.
or anyone else.
Yeah. That's good. That's real good. I think that relationships have to change. And I think it's good that you are discovering that you're evolving, you're growing, and that whenever you've been in something for so long, like our marriage, right? It has changed, over time, and it's not changing for the worse. Change isn't bad; it's actually good. It helps us confront the realities and things that we were blind to before, and things that we, need to fix, right? So I think that's great that it's always evolving. I think for anybody who's watching right now, I hope that your faith continues to evolve, right? And how you react and how you relate to your relationship with the church, because I believe there's a relationship with God and there's also a relationship with the church, and the two are not synonymous. One relationship can be filled with a lot of hurt and pain,
Toxic.
and
It can be
toxic,
toxic.
right? And the other relationship can be meaningful and wonderful and always fulfilling. So that's good that I'm glad to hear that you say that it's evolving and it's not, and you didn't paint it like in a negative way, right?
I think it's just like with truth or with knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Like it's ever evolving. And I think it's okay to question
Yeah.
the thing that you have aligned yourself with for years. And I've done that. I've questioned the church, and, you know, already.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another episode.
You know
That's
already
another
what my
episode.
feelings are, but
Right.
I definitely do know this. I know that I'm grateful that God has placed us where He's placed us, where we are aligned with an organization, a church that is not your average church. I think if I had to
Yeah.
go, the only options were a traditional kind of Adventist
Oh,
church.
yeah.
I probably will not be in there, if I'm being honest.
Facts.
Only because, again, not in 2025 us doing the same thing we were doing when I was little, when I was a teenager
Yeah.
in this church. Like it's not showing progression. Like there's no, it feels like it can be very stagnant. And so I'm just glad that the Lord aligned us with a congregation that is very much what it is that we want for ourselves, our children, where we're not just doing things like we usually do. It
Yeah.
can't be. At least
Yeah.
I'm no longer there. And
Yeah.
I'm not telling anyone to be where you feel like someone else. You be where you need to be.
Yeah.
Because I think that's important. And I'm not going to sit and judge and look down on anyone that chooses to go to a traditional church, or I'm not going to look down at someone who chooses to go to a church that's a little bit more liberal.
Right.
I think what matters most is where you are on your journey, and that's it.
Yeah.
Let that be it.
Yeah, for sure. I 1000% agree with you, because some of those, for some people, inserting yourself into that traditional church is a reopening of trauma.
Correct.
Right? Leadership in that. And to say, and I wanted to say this while you were talking, was that the church that we're at, Revision, that we attend frequently, I think that is also a testament to the leadership. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a reflection of the leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a reflection of the values of the leadership of the church, that it pours into the congregation,
Mm-hmm.
and it attracts people like that.
Mm-hmm.
There are toxic people in there, toxic people everywhere, right? People with issues everywhere. But
well, when you say they're toxic people, just make sure that, because you don't know that.
Right. I'm just assuming
Mm-hmm.
that there are toxic people there, that they show up. But what I'm saying is that toxicity doesn't spread because the leadership of the church,
Mm-hmm.
the leaders of the church, make sure that they keep it a safe space, as safe as they can keep it. So, someone that asked me the question, like, now that you left ministry, what churches do you go to? And I answered the same way you answered. I said, I'm very particular about whatever church I go to, because I don't want to deal with that drama, that mess. So we're wrapping up, but I have one more question for you. One last question.
Okay.
And it's almost like a scenario question,
Mm-hmm.
and answer it however you want to answer it. But imagine that after this episode, or during this episode, a young lady sends you an email, or a young man. Let me not make it just young, because we have some husbands that are married to pastors as well. They sent you an email. They're going through the same thing that you're going through, or that they resonated with your story.
Mm-hmm.
What and if would you say to them?
The only thing that can carry you, or the only thing that I believe that can carry you, is your walk with God. With your walk, it's your walk with God, and your walk with your husband, or your spouse. I don't think, if I was married to someone else who wasn't as open-minded, who wasn't as supportive in embracing who I am at my core, and never pressing me or making me feel bad, or telling me I need to do this or I need to do that. I think that's important, and I hope that your spouse, the person that you're walking in life with, is supporting you in that way, because that honestly is what created the safe space for me to be able to blossom my walk with God, and also my connection with Jamie, and honing that connection and staying true to that connection, and not suffering in silence. And even though sometimes it's this guilt that used to come over me, like, I don't want to burden him with my stuff. I don't want to burden him with how I'm feeling about this thing. He's managing a church. He has this, that, and that going on. The last thing I want to do is make him feel bad, or make him feel a way about his calling, or what God has called him to, but God has first called him to be your spouse. You are the first church. Like, you are the one that he's supposed to tend to. And I remember when coming to Jamie with all the things I was feeling in those moments, you know, he would always be like encouraging me, of course, and just be like, yo, do whatever it is that you feel you need to do. Never pressuring me or making me feel any less than what I know God had called me to. And so this journey for everyone is different. And I think it's also important to embrace your journey as what it is. You know, sometimes in ministry, there are a lot of things that you speak to another, I'll speak to another pastor's wife, be like, yo, you gonna do that too? Oh my gosh, like, how did you do that? But I feel that those are the two things.
Yeah.
God and your spouse, because that's what helped me.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's really hard to talk to anyone that's outside of pastoral ministry about pastoral ministry, because they'll literally look at you like, yeah, I'm so sorry that that's happening, but it's really hard to understand a lot of the things that we experience. But I guess that will be it. Honestly, I'll definitely, if you've resonated with my story and you feel impressed to share with me and to kind of create community with me in that way, I'm definitely open to talking and praying and being a source of support and help in whatever way I can be. But I just think that's pretty much all I got.
Yo, and that's all you can give. And I think that was great, right? And I appreciate you answering those questions. I'm sure those that watched appreciate it too. And this is a journey that we're both on, and I'm excited for you.
Me too.
Excited for you. Really excited for you. And I'm excited for our next few episodes that we'll be presenting to the folks. And look, I think that's all of my questions. I have more, but we'll leave it there for time's purpose and things of that nature. But yo, we want to encourage you to like, to subscribe, so that you can get updates for when we do our next episodes, so that you can get it on your phone real quick, so you can just turn it on and watch, or that you can watch it later. And as I say, I know you probably don't like when I say this, but if you don't subscribe right now,
oh gosh,
I am inclined to think that you are a hater. And please make me wrong. Don't make me think that you are a hater. Subscribe.
I don't think it's, if they don't like or subscribe to it, I won't say that they're a hater.
What are they doing?
They just probably no. I don't think they're hating. Some people just. Not everybody's for everybody. Not everybody's for us. So I feel like if you're for us, then you'll like it.
True.
And you'll subscribe.
All right.
But if you're not, and that's okay.
All right. Carlene thinks that you're not. You good. I'm good too, but I think you're a hater. Nevertheless, I appreciate everybody just for even watching.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. But yes, continue to share this with your friends, and we hope that our story helps unlock your story and your journey to be the best version of who God created you to be. And so with that being said, this is your boy Jamie.
And this is Carlene.
And create the life you don't want to
escape.
All right, signing out.
Peace.
Peace.